Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Peter Jennings, and I go by CSURAM88 across the daily fantasy industry. And it's a bittersweet day doing a lineup review of the last week of the regular season. Of course, going to start off with the Three Donkeys league. The week went actually decent for me. Had a big sweat at the end, which I'll review. That didn't fully come to fruition, but not an awful week, which by 2017 standards is pretty good. Cash game team, you can see here that I lost the same lineup between Levitan and Bales. I struggled a lot with DraftKings Cash this week. I thought it was challenging, and quarterback was really where I struggled the most. Ended up going Brady at the end because I had the money. And I don't feel great about it. With Brady, there was certainly some risk there. Obviously, the cold weather was the challenge, and I thought they'd really try to run the football, and then also game flow was unlikely to be in his favor at home versus the Jets in the cold weather. So there's some valid concerns. I ended up going him just with the team total and the fact that I was so high on Deion Lewis and Rob Gronkowski, and it just didn't work out. So I had Deion Lewis, Jamal Williams. They were chalk. I went Tavon Austin at the end, read that he was going to get a lot of work, and was banking on him at 3K. I was really deciding between him and Reynolds. Galladay should have been in consideration as well. T.Y. Hilton, who was chalky, Julio Jones, Gronk, Carlos Hyde, who I really liked in the 49ers defense. So Levitan and Bales went with Matt Ryan lineups. Marquise Goodwin was on his way to a really big game. Unfortunately, got concussed. Derrick Henry, who I went across the industry but decided to fade in DraftKings Cash, who I thought was a really good play. And they went Charles Clay instead of Gronkowski. So they got up to a third solid receiver with these three value running backs, who I thought made a lot of sense. And then went with Charles Clay instead of Gronk as the punt at tight end. So good lineups from Bales and Levitan. Like the process of their teams. I was considering all the same guys. I like Matt Ryan a lot as well. And I just really wanted Gronkowski, which was the challenge. So I like this team. Goodwin, I thought, could have had a huge game, a brutal hit. Hopefully he's going to be okay. All right, so taking a look at the 888, really nice tournament here by DraftKings, $1.8 million prize pool. I ended up having a sweat with this team because it was all late guys. Didn't get the finish I was hoping for. Sanu had a touchdown called back, which kind of killed the momentum of the team, and the game flow in the Oakland game was bad. But went with the Phillip Rivers stack. I went with Keenan Allen and Antonio Gates, ran it back with Amari Cooper, who had that one long touchdown. My only Amari Cooper team. Got him at 0.4%, so I actually feel good about the play, even with the ridiculous matchup, especially in a game stack like this. Faded Deion Lewis. I was on Gore with the narrative of him getting over 139 yards for 1,000 yards on the season. He also needed, I believe, a little like 90 yards to get over 14,000 for his career. So I thought there were some good narratives behind Frank Gore, with the owner tweeting about it. Went him a lot in GPPs. Obviously, Deion Lewis was in every cash game across the industry, but I decided to go with Frank Gore, Kamara, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Demaryius Thomas, who I like quite a bit. He didn't get as much run in the second half, did catch a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Questionable play potentially with motivation, but I thought they'd want to see what they have with Paxton Lynch and their chemistry. Gates, Mohamed Sanu, and the Colts defense for the stack with Frank Gore. So I really like Sanu. He had good history against Carolina. I thought he was going to be low owned and a good pivot away from Julio Jones. Had another Rivers team finish decently well. My worst team was a Jimmy Garoppolo team again. Frank Gore, Derrick Henry, Tavon Austin, the run back, Marquise Goodwin, Dede Westbrook, Gronk, Gordon, and the Chargers defense. Don't hate any of these plays. Maybe Tavon Austin was more thin than I thought. I really liked kind of what I was hearing, and I always thought he would be a good running back. And at that price tag, I figured he was pretty much a lock to get around 10 touches, something like that. And he ended up getting 7, which is disappointing, and obviously didn't do anything with him. But I was hopeful. I'm biased towards Tavon Austin, and something I'll have to look more into coming into next year, although I don't think I'll have to think about Tavon Austin much. But players like him is what I'm more referencing. The obviously freakishly athletic speed, but they're just so small type players that they struggle to be efficient with their opportunity. So that was that. Looking at the contest dashboard, this is something I just think is so cool. So this would be a great week to look at teams. You can look at the teams. You can see my leverage. Frank Gore was the top of my leverage. Tavon Austin, Indianapolis defense. Then I was high on Phillip Rivers and Keenan Allen relative to the field. And you can kind of see the players that I went in with. I always like to look at guys who do well. So let's look at Draft Sheet. He won the if we look here at Draft Sheet, so Draft Sheet's leverage was also really high on Frank Gore and Dion Lewis. He went with Doug Baldwin really heavily, Kenny Golladay, Keenan Allen, Julio. So some really good teams overall from DC. Obviously, he won the tournament. If we go back and we look at the winning lineup, he also had a Rivers team with Frank Gore and Dion Lewis. Went with Doug Baldwin and George Kittle. So a really sharp play. Only thing I don't love about the lineup is the negative correlation with Kittle and Hyde, but still a good spot overall for both those players. And Kittle came in with great ownership. So also in the 49ers defense. So kind of a 49ers stack. So the correlation maybe isn't quite as bad, even though generally you don't want a tight end and a running back from the same team without their quarterback. But congrats to DC. We'll take a look here at the Millionaire Maker. So this same team finished 148th there. It was $80. Endcamp took it down with Phillip Rivers, Devontae Freeman, Dion Lewis, Keenan Allen, Seth Roberts, Tyrell Williams, Jack Doyle, Kamara, and the Cowboys defense, who was very low owned and put up a really great game there. So really nice team from MCamp B05. Congrats on the million. Not going to lie, I was really rooting for Makasupa, good friend, and he's someone who's been in the DFS industry for a long time, great player. He was right there, just needed a completion from Russell Wilson to Doug Baldwin to win it at the end. Carlos Hyde, Dion Lewis, Keenan Allen, Doug Baldwin, Albert Wilson, who was a really sharp play, Delaney Walker, Devontae Freeman, and the Steelers defense. So really nice team for Makasupa. We're going to take a look here at his ownership. And sorry, we have the wrong contest here. But if we go to the $80 Millionaire Maker, and we look up Makasupa, love what he did here. All in Russell Wilson, Dion Lewis, basically all in Doug Baldwin. So really attacked this just with a ton of leverage, which I think is what makes sense. And had a lot of great players here. Did extremely well. If you just look at his name, had some really, really nice finishes overall and did really well on the contest. So congrats to Makasupa on the great week. Always excited to see friends do well and someone who's had as much success and has grinded so long. Hope this contest review is helpful. I think the big thing that I would take away that was a mistake was Tavon Austin. Maybe not a brutal mistake because of the opportunity and the coach speak around him and his price tag, but one thing I definitely want to avoid in the 2018 NFL season is taking guys who might have lower ceilings than they appear because of how efficient they are with their touches. So hope the year went really well for you guys. Hope you had a happy New Year's Eve. We're on to 2018. Good luck in all your contests this week. Hope to see Fantasy Lab subscribers at the top of the leaderboard.